Nintendo just released the worst game ever. Apparently. Their new basketball wheelchair game, Drag and Drive, or Drag X Drive, whatever you want to say. I'm gonna call it Drag and Drive. There have been so many people saying Nintendo made the most boring, pointless, and bland game in the history of their games, which says a lot because they made Amiibo Festival. Does nobody remember that? Nintendo really got fancy with these things called wheelchairs. One of the craziest modes of transportation yet. A tool that many use to get around and is vital to those who park where the blue signs are. But not only is it a tool for those who need it, it's a sport, and Nintendo capitalized on that. Wheelchair basketball. Nintendo saw this real-life sport and said, yeah, we'll make a game on that for some reason. Even though Nintendo hasn't once said that this is a wheelchair that our fella is using here, it ain't fooling anyone. It's not for no reason though. They needed to come up with a game that utilizes the Switch 2's Joy-Con's mouse abilities. And I gotta say, this was very creative. Kind of edgy, but why has this game been hated on so much? Well, for the low price of $20, I bought it to see if this experience is worth the money. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's right. The Game Gauge. It's back, and it can't be stopped. Of course, as I play, I'll be ranking it on the Game Gauge, and by the end, we'll give it a score of 1 to 10. We'll check back on it as we go, but for now, it's time to play. First of all, as I mentioned, this is a basketball wheelchair game. You play as this guy, whatever his name is. I'll call him Mr. Dunk. The main portion of this game is a simple 3-on-3 match where you connect with online strangers and play against each other. And it's simple. Whoever scores the most points wins the game. I think the most fascinating part about this game is the controls, but it's also one of the biggest issues. I mean, this is one of the few games that actually makes me break a sweat while playing. And it's not just because I'm hopelessly out of shape, but because you're pretending the Joy-Cons are wheels on your wheelchair, hence all the vigorous Joy-Con movement. The more pushing you do, the faster you go. And there's even a max speed indicator on your chair so you know when to stop straining yourself, which I usually ignore. That's what I do. There's more to it than just pushing the wheelchair by sliding the controllers. You can shoot the ball by flicking your wrists. You can clap and high-five players and wave them down if you're open, which they probably won't notice. You can click the R and L bumpers at the same time to pass the ball to a teammate, and of course, you can do backflips. What? Yeah, you actually have quite a bit of mobility here. You can pull off some more advanced tricks like dunking from the half pipe, bunny hopping, and yes, like I said, backflips. It's very satisfying to pull off, especially if it works. And it's not just for looks. If you successfully dunk on the haters with dunk while pulling off a trick at the same time, you get bonus points. Well, decimal points, and those can actually make a difference at the end of a game. Trust me. Like I mentioned, while it's pretty fun once you get the hang of it, these controls are also one of the biggest problems. Moving around works maybe 90% of the time. Every 9 pushes on the wheelchair, there's that one time a Joy-Con just doesn't register properly. And that can be a literal game changer if you're going for a breakaway shot or trying to perfectly time a ball steal from an opponent. This is one of the most infuriating things that happens often. These controls aren't the most accurate, especially with some of the more advanced tricks I mentioned earlier. Obviously, the more you play, the better you get at controlling these harder moves. But even after hours and hours, things just kinda didn't work properly. Like the basic act of moving the wheelchair in a straight line, or bunny hopping, for example. Most of the time it works, but sometimes it just doesn't. My point is, it doesn't matter if you're the GOAT with our boy Dunk here. There will be times the Joy-Cons just don't register your moves, which makes the whole competitive side to this game kind of feel pointless. There are some games that are competitive games and are more party games. And Drag and Drive, I think, tries to be competitive, but due to the sheer unreliability of the controls, you have to treat it like a party game or else you're not gonna have fun. It'll just get frustrating because of these controls, and that's how you have to look at it. I'm not a crazy competitive guy. That's not me. So I didn't really mind the odd control slip up, but it's pretty annoying when the controller just loses calibration on your surface, which happened a lot, especially if I was raising my hands or after a shot. The only way it could recalibrate was by putting the Joy-Con on the table again, which is really awkward when you go to shoot the ball and it just doesn't register. And again, this happens pretty often. This whole game is just janky. What can I say? And I can't tell if that's the point or not. Now, if it didn't have the wheelchair Joy-Con mouse controls, it would be a lot easier to control, but I think it's also the lack of control and the sheer chaos that actually makes this game kind of balanced and fun. I hope I didn't contradict myself with that. So for the controls, it's kind of hard to judge. For what it's trying to do and the purpose of using the controls like this, it's actually really good for the most part, with its quirks. But at the same time, I've seen people say they should have added button controls like what they did with ARMS. And while I understand that to a degree, and it would also make all the flaws stand out even more, which we should get to now, because the controls aren't the only thing wrong with this game. Some people say it requires zero skill, and I don't necessarily think that's true, because I've been paired with people who literally take possession of the ball and just do nothing with it. So it does require some skill. But before we dive into more of the issues, let's see where it's landing so far on the Game Gauge. went 2-2. Not bad. Okay, let's keep going. Let's look at our boy Dunk here. My guy has all sorts of styles, but not many good ones. Yeah, I'll admit it, I think the overall art style of this game is actually pretty forgettable. The only map is the bleak gray basketball court with little bits of neon color popping up to make it feel vibrant. At first, I didn't mind this until I started realizing how bland and boring it actually is. Like, imagine if this court was outside or something. Give us one other map and I think it would have gone a long way. I mean, I don't want to be picky, but I mean, like, this is just boring. Look-wise, not gameplay-wise, just it feels boring. But worst of all is Dunk himself. Now listen, I love the guy, and he's grown on me as a character, but he's just a friggin' guy with no face, big hands, and he comes with a few different shapes and sizes, and even colors. It's literally just a random guy with a helmet. Regardless, they could have given him more flair instead of just being, again, a guy with a helmet. Like, where is all that customization? Now, when it comes to looks, you might notice that the Dunk boys look a little different. That's because there are 3 separate breeds. There's the guard, which is easy to mess with and weak. There's center, the big guys who are slow but beefy. And then there's the classic forward, the all-arounder, and the one I played with the most. This does spice up the game a little bit, but it's really all about strategy you have with your teammates that matter. Which brings me to multiplayer. It's kind of confusing actually. First of all, the way most people will probably play is with randoms online. The matchmaking is kind of weird, but makes sense. Let me explain. When you play with random people online, you do so by joining a public park, which can have up to 12 people in it. When the game starts, players are split up between the 2 courts in the park with random teams. While you wait for matches to start, you can fool around in the park doing stuff, and it can actually be pretty fun to just mess around and try to do tricks in the little park. I'd rather have this than a plain matchmaking screen, so I'll take it. One problem is if there isn't a full 12 people in your park, and say there's only 11, there's a 1 in 11 chance you won't be selected to play a match, and you'll have to sit out while the others play. And this happened to me a few times. It's only a 3 to 5 minute wait to get into the next match, but still kind of annoying when it happens. That said, if you're playing solo, I think this matchmaking system works really well. There's even an option to say you don't care if you get into a match right away. So that's for that one person. Now, where multiplayer fails the most is with friends. Pretty much the only way you can guarantee playing with friends is by creating or joining a friend park, a private park with just your buddies. People on your friend list can join, and you can share a park code with others who have the game. This is great and can be a lot of fun. I don't have many people willing to buy this game, but thankfully a lot of you join me on stream. Well, members, that is. Seriously, become a channel member. You get all sorts of perks. You get an exclusive Discord chat with me, and you get videos early and your name at the end of every single video. So that's peak, I think. Filling a lobby of friends might be difficult, but regardless, the option is there. It's fun to fool around in the park and play games. It can get hectic, and that's kind of the charm. What I really want, though, is to play with 1 or 2 friends with randoms online. But you can't. There is no simple way to enter a public park with other friends. There is a way, but it's really dumb. The only method I figured out was joining a public park myself and then having someone else try to join it by clicking my name in the friends list. The big problem is that most public parks are full, making it almost impossible for a friend or 2 to join you, since the servers have already filled it with random players. It boggles my mind why you can't rally friends together first and then join a public match as a group. My boys, the same thing happened with Mario Kart World. Like, why can we not figure this out with players online? Goodness. And even if your friend manages to join the public park, you might not even be on the same team or even the same court, which is still fine, but there's so much more they could have done here. Sure, it might complicate matchmaking a bit, but I think this game would have had more staying power if I could choose to play with my own squad. The only way to control team variables is in friend parks, which require others to actually own the game, and not many of my friends actually own the game. Or of course, you could use bots, so at least you can populate the game with bots, but still it's much more fun knowing that you're playing with actual people online instead of just bots. For what it's doing, it's a lot of fun though, I'll be honest, okay? I know I've been dogging on it a lot, but when it actually works, it elevates the game for sure. Especially with game chat. I did not think I'd be using this feature as much as I do. You can share screens and talk with people, and with a team sport like this, it adds a sense of teamwork that can't be matched without communication. Verbally saying, pass the ball, adds a layer of strategy that's hard to get across using only Nintendo's built-in phrases, which are literally just cool, no prob, and hey. And while on the topic of multiplayer, I think the most confusing thing about it is the lack of a local multiplayer option. I kind of get that it might be tricky to fit 2 people on screen with this kind of a game, but I don't think it would have been impossible. It mainly surprises me because of how busted the online friend multiplayer is, and the fact that they could have sold so many more pairs of Joy-Con 2s. Alright, Gang Gauge, where are you at so far? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. What about progression? What keeps me coming back? Many online games use battle passes to unlock cosmetics, and even other Nintendo online games do this, like Kirby's Dream Buffet. Does anyone remember that game? That was another $20 Nintendo game that had so many unlockables. As you just leveled up and played matches, there was so much to do. Music, statues, cosmetics, and callbacks to the whole franchise, and it would take days of playing to get everything. That game was insane. I'm sorry for the Dream Buffet glaze, but I missed that game. It was peak. Dragon Drive doesn't have any of that, or at least nothing meaningful that makes you want to play for a long time. There's no battle pass, no XP system, not even a simple account level up thing. That alone could have made the grind a lot more rewarding, even if the cosmetics were mid. Now, there are still cosmetics you can unlock, but you just do that by completing challenges around the park and just playing. So at least there is something. It's just not as much as Kirby's Dream Buffet, the absolute Chad. Speaking of challenges, there's lots to do around the park while you're not actually basketing the ball. Around the park, you'll see these little stopwatches. That's how you can start a challenge. Complete one in a certain time limit and you earn a medal. That means you can technically 100% drag and drive. Let's go. I might do that, I think. I think I will. And some of these challenges are actually pretty tough. They're fun, they're a little frustrating, but at least it gives me something to do. And I like a good challenge. This is really the only single player portion of the game. Everything else is multiplayer. I like them, but they're short and there are fewer than 50 in total. And they're all in the same park. I guess this is really the only sense of progression that this game has. But of course, there's more than just challenges. There's also mini games. But before we get to that, let's check the game gauge again. Okay, that helped. We're getting there. Okay, mini games. These are different from challenges because you can play them with other people in the park. But when they say mini games, I didn't think they meant this many because they're pretty short. I'm not gonna lie, they're actually horrifically short. This isn't getting in the way of the main basketball mode since they're all under a minute, which is fine, but it's like, it's pretty underwhelming. They're fun in the moment, but dang, they go quick. One might be a quick race against all the dunks, or another is trying to catch the ball somewhere around the park. I can't say much more than that, but what I can say is the value. Is it worth it? Should you buy this for $20? When it comes to the value of the game, things get a little more complicated because it's literally only $20. Nintendo sold us Mario Kart at $80. You could buy 4 Dragon Drives for the price of Mario Kart. There's definitely an issue with some of Nintendo's pricing models, but I actually think this is a fair price. Don't come after me. And this makes it harder to complain about a lot of the things I've been pointing out in this video so far. It's only $20, and the fact that you're getting a game like this is really all it needs to be. Yes, obviously value is subjective, but I've played much worse games that cost way more. And I think having a game that shows off such a unique feature of the Switch 2 is really cool. You simply couldn't play this on any other console with the same quality or precision they've done here. And speaking of the Switch 2, the hardware makes this a lot more appealing. You've got the mouse gimmick, the crisp 4K and 60 frames per second. It's a cool use of the new console I just dropped so much money on. And speaking of Joy-Con, they can get a little uncomfortable after a while, so make sure you take breaks. All right, let's check the game gauge for the final time. What do you think about the game gauge's score? Do you agree with it? And hey, have you picked up the game? Consider liking and subscribing. And hey, you see these names? Consider joining them. Become a channel member to get exclusive content, join a chat where I'm active, and of course, your name here, and much more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.